Script to Radiant Relationship Tutorial number 2. Today I'm going to add effects to our shootable Easter eggs. So the first thing we're going to do is make effects. I'm going to make a looping effects and a one-shot effects so that the shootable has an effects on it constantly. That's the looping effects. And then when we shoot it, it'll play a one-shot effects and stop playing the looping effects. I have two effects picked out. For the effects, we have this looping fire effects, and we have this one-shot fire explosion. First thing I'm going to do is save these effects so that I can edit them, and then I'll show you how to include them in your scripts. To save, we just go to our effects outline, and we can right-click it, or we can come down to the Save button, Save Effect As, and I have a custom folder here where I'll add Script to Tutorial, and I already have it there, so I'll save it as that. And that's my one-shot effects, and then I'll be able to start editing it. One thing I want is it comes out to the side. I want it to go straight up. So I'll select the elements and I'll change the movement. We'll make the X 0, Y 0, and we'll say the Z will be about 50. And then we'll select the next element and do the same thing. This is the smoke. We'll make it a little less than 50. Check its orientation and test it out. Okay, let's make the flames just a little higher. Let's say 65. Okay, I like that. So we'll save it and then do the same with our looping effects. Save as, custom, script to radiant tut. Let's call it fire looping. And we're not going to change that at all for this tutorial. So now we have the effects we're going to use in our EE. We're going to go to our script and we're going to precache them. We're going to precache effects, and then we're going to get the path. We put them custom script to radiant tut fire looping. So from effects folder, it's custom script to radiant tut fire looping and fire one shot. Fire looping. Change this / to a \. And fire one shot. Fire looping, fire one shot. Next, I like to add up here what I have to add to zone. So zone will be the same thing with effects in front of it, like so. And then we'll add them to our zone. So now they're pre-cached and they're added to zone. Next, I want to add how to play these effects, and we'll go to our points Easter egg here and select that prefab. The model we want to play are looping effects, so we'll give it a new KVP of script effects ID, and we'll say fire looping. And then on the trigger, when we shoot it, we'll add another KVP script effects ID fire one shot. And the name actually doesn't matter, and just to prove that, this is just going to be our key, so we'll call this one plume instead. And then we'll go back to script. Now in script, we have to tell it when to play it, and first we want to use those strings that we added to the model and the trigger as keys to get the effects we want to play. So we'll use level effect, and the one name was fire looping, and that's going to equal the fire looping effects. And the other one we gave a different name, plume, and that's going to equal the one shot. The reason I used level dot underscore effect array is because that's what COD uses to store its effects. You'll find it throughout the scripts. If you haven't seen the previous tutorial, the way this script works is it passes a string that defines the KVP to get an array of triggers, and then threads handle shootable on each of those triggers, and then here we're getting that model that we put the looping effects on. So we'll add if is defined model.script effects ID, and we're adding if is defined because we didn't add it to all the Easter eggs. This would cause an error if we just said play that effects without checking if the KVP we're going to use exists. So if that KVP does exist, we're going to use play effects on tag for this one, and the effects to play is going to be whatever we stored in this looping key here. Except we're going to replace looping with the model script effects ID. The entity we're going to play it on is going to be the model, and we'll just use the tag origin of that model and delete this. I'm using play effects on tag just in case we want to move that model. The effects, if set up to effect now, will follow that model around. That takes care of the looping. Then after it's shot, we can do the same thing. If is defined self dot script effects ID. Now I use self because that's the trigger in this case, and we put that effect for the one shot on the trigger. So here we can just play the effects. Also using this array, except for we'll use the self script effects ID, and in this case it's asking for a position. We want to play that from the model's origin. And we don't need all this. Actually, no, that doesn't belong there. Okay. So now we're ready to test. We're going to compile, link, and build. So here we are in game, and our skulls are on fire, just like that looping effects over there. And when we shoot them, you see the one-shot effects going out to the side where it shouldn't be going. And give everyone points reward. So let's go figure out what we did wrong. I'm going to go look at our effects. So everything looks good and radiant. So it must be the angle of the effects. So here, this actually returns. So we can say that the effects dot angles should equal the model dot angles. And we can try and save that. And we'll just link and test it. And here we are again. And now the plume is playing correctly. The one shot is coming straight up. And give everyone points. So instead of saying give everyone points, let's give everyone points. Right here, give everyone points. We're going to thread give all points. Give all points. Players equals get players. And then for each player in players, we're going to say player add to score. Let's just say 5,000 points for now. And because we added this ZM score, add to player score, we have to make sure that we are using ZM score and then link and test again. And here we are again. Give everyone points, and I got 5,000 points. So instead of printing out each time that I shoot it, one, we can get rid of give everyone points because that works now. And here, let's get rid of that print and just say, since it's thread on the player up here, player shot one, we're going to just give that player points. Say, we'll just give them, oops, add to player score, we'll just give them 50 points for finding one, because that's nice. And then I think that our shootable points Easter egg is completed. We'll link and test that one more time. And here we are again. We have our looping effects, our one-shot effects. I'm getting 50 points every time I shoot. And when I shoot them all, I got 5,000 points. So let's add just a one-shot effects to this other Easter egg. Okay, we're going to add our one-shot KVP script effects ID, and we'll name it explode. EE. I don't know. Save that. Okay, now we just need to find an effects to use for that. So let's go to the explosions. And let's see what this effects does. Since the update, I have to copy new effects before they'll work. That's a pretty big explosion. That'll work for now. Let's save that effects as a custom effects. We don't have to, actually. Let's just use it where it is. The path is explosions fxxp generic aerial. And we'll add it to our precache. And we'll add it to our array. And we called it explode EE. Just make sure that's what I called it. Explode EE, yes. We have to add this to our zone. And then since we made a radiant change, we'll have to compile and link to get to test. Here we are again. Okay. We have our looping effects. I got 50 points for shooting that. Nothing going on here. And there was a big explosion, a one-shot explosion, which is ridiculous, but you get the point. There's our 5,000 points. So that's it. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to use structs to randomize where our models are initially every time you play. That way they're not in the same spot every time.